we go ahead and get started? Welcome everyone to the November member meeting. This is our last regular member meeting of the year. Next month will be our holiday party, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. We're going to start off, as we always do, asking one of our members to read the mission statement. Margo, would you do the honors?
Sure. WiVLA's mission is to promote an inspiring forum for women, WiVLA's mission is to provide an inspiring forum for women to explore and advance their creative development, to promote their work in the marketplace, and to infuse the community with their spirit of cooperation and invention.
Yay! Yay! All right. Thank you, Margo. Brooke, there you are.
Yes,
you're up
hi.
As membership chair.
All right. So, hi, welcome everybody. I've been diligently studying faces and names, trying to make connections in my brain the whole time we've been on. I recognize some of you, and a lot of you are new to me, even though you might not be new to WiVLA. So I'm familiarizing myself as quickly as possible. And I want to say a warm welcome to members old and new and in between. I see a couple of members that I recognize as new members because I watch for new memberships and make sure people can get into the system. And I see that Brenda Bowman, you're showing up as a new member in the system. Welcome. And yeah. And Kathy, I know this isn't your first month, but I remember seeing your name, recently, and welcomed you because I was lucky enough to know you already. Are there any other new members that we can say hi to?
Russanne.
Yeah, Russanne. I remember working with you, Russanne, getting that membership going.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't realize it had lapsed, but thank you for all your help.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anybody else?
Are you?
Nelda?
I'm new from last month was my first meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is my second.
Okay, cool.
I'm not sure I could pick you out in the crowd yet, Nelda, but I do remember you being here last month.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then for everybody, just a reminder to get into the system and update your portfolio. Fresh work is always a good thing. And no matter how long you've been a member, take a look at your profile and see if there's anything you want to update in there. And if you have any trouble at all doing that, you can send an email to the WiVLA email address, info@, right? And that can make its way to me if you have any issues with the system and updating that. Just let us know. That's all I have, I think.
All right. And Melody, I think there's a couple of things you want to bring up.
Well, let's start with December first.
Okay.
So next month, Sunday, December 10th, we're having our holiday party. It will be at Silver Street Studios at Sawyer Yard. It's on our calendar, and the calendar also has a link to Sign Up Genius, so you can. It'd be nice if you could RSVP so we have a clue about how many people will be there, so we don't run out of food and beverage. And you can also sign up to bring food or beverage or napkins or what have you. So this will be our great opportunity to everyone get together, outgoing board, incoming board, new members, longtime members, for us to get together and celebrate the holidays. So I'm looking forward to seeing y'all. And I think it'll be a lot of fun. We did this last year at the same place, and it was a good time.
And what time is it?
2 to 5. Just the hours that you wanted, Gladys.
That's right. Let's just
keep me honest. Make sure I got the right time. Okay, drum roll. Okay, so I've been the acting treasurer this year, but officially the immediate past president. And one of my responsibilities as immediate past president is to help come up with the slate of officers for the following year. And I just have to say, I think I've done a dandy job.
All right.
Fabulous board.
That's good.
As president will be Brooke Summers-Perry, who is currently our membership director. Wave, Brooke. Okay. Vice president, she said she was going to be late. She's not here yet, is Susan Salter. Susan was on the board as membership, I believe, in 2018 and 2019, but I'm going off the top of my head. I could be wrong. Secretary will be Gretchen McDaniel, our current president. Treasurer will be Mildred Mills. She's here. There she is. She's our current webmaster. Program chair, a newbie on the board, Jean King. Jean, I know you're here. Wave, there she is. I'm going to be assuming the role of publicity chair. For visual arts, we have co-chairs. One, trying to see if either one of them are here. We've got
Marie's not here.
Right, I know Marie Casamayor Harvey will be staying on in this role. And with her will be Shirley Beyer. I'm super excited about that. For literary, we have Ellen Seaton remaining on, and joining her is Rebecca Chirac. If she's on the phone, it'd be great. I mean, the line, it'd be great if she could correct my pronunciation. She is new to the board. Super excited to have her on. She's been in several workshops and readings, and so she's going to be a great addition too. I'm assuming the role as newsletter editor is Margo Stutts Toombs. And if the newsletter is half as good as the programming has been, it'll be awesome. Historian staying on is Beatrice Stewart. Don't think she's on this evening.
She's not here.
I skipped right over a position. The new membership chair is Melissa Chambers. Melissa, I've been trying to get her on the board. Yes, she's now on the board. I'm so excited. And our at-large position is Kathy Crawford. I know she's here. Where are you, Kathy? There she is. Really excited to have her on. What's really great about this year's board is that everybody that's coming in fresh has really a mentor on the board already, someone that has had that position going out. So you've got the wind beneath your wings right on the board. It's going to be awesome. Next year is our 30th anniversary. I mean, does it get any better than that? So I will be mailing a ballot to the membership within the next day or two. And so if you want, we can have one more at-large position. I didn't go after it, but if you have ideas for our 30th anniversary celebration, boy, howdy, we would love to have you on the board and in this slot to help out with that. So there will be a spot for write-ins. So think about that. Just an FYI, if you're already on the board, you cannot change positions to the at-large position. I won't count your vote. Okay, so I hope you're as excited as I am. I did a happy dance at the post the other day, and I'm very excited. So
Yes.
thank you. I think it's a great incoming board.
It is.
I'm very pleased.
All right. Thank you, Melody. Marie, visual chair is not here this evening to speak about visual arts, but she wanted everyone to know the expansion exhibition is over. It's done with. Everyone has picked up their artwork. She wanted to thank everyone for making that process very painless. And early next year, the board will begin planning of the collaboration show. So keep tuned for that. No details yet, but we're ready. They're ready to start planning. Okay. Now let's see, Ellen. Before we start the main portion of our meeting tonight, do you want to say anything about Saturday?
Of course, of course. Saturday is Haunted Holidays, and we have it in November because when we look at the Haunted Holidays, we start with Halloween and we go all the way through the new year. So there's a lot of Krampuses and things that, you know, crawl around through the fall season going into winter. That you can write about. And Melody always reminds me, we can include Election Day in that as well. So that is happening Saturday night at Brazos Bookstore. WiVLA has teamed up once again with the Houston Writers Guild and the Brazos Bookstore to have this event. And last year we had a whole lot of fun. And we've got some dynamite writers signed up this year. Please, 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 feel free to join us. This will be an in-person. I love Joe Sider's.
She's out of control.
I know. It will be an in-person event, so we can actually see each other up close and personal with social distancing, of course. And it will be from 6 to 8:30-ish. I'm not a real stickler for, well, let me not say I'm not a stickler for time, because then somebody will get up and read for 10 minutes and then Margo will get upset with me and then it'll just be a ruckus. But please come Saturday night to Brazos Bookstore, Haunted Holidays, spooky stories. What more do you need to know?
What to wear?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Costumes. Yes, that shirt. Costumes are strongly encouraged. I come out of the broom closet, you know, in my gear with my broom. And so it just to have fun, just to get into the mood of hauntedness. Thank you, Melody. And thank you, Joe.
Hey, I'm sorry. Before we continue with Ellen and company, I just wanted to say Susan Salter just joined, and she's waving. Susan, you just missed my announcements of the slate of offices for next week.
I was hoping I would be here in time for that.
I missed it by that much. So she will be our vice president. So very excited.
Who would have thought?
She volunteered. Hey, she volunteered. I have a witness.
I'm excited about it. Thank you.
We are too.
Yes.
Okay. Well, now we're going to start the main event, the main portion of our night tonight. Our readings. Ellen,
November
take
is
it away.
always a very exciting month for me because I do get these two readings coming up very close together. And I've been asking everybody just to pick up their pencils and write, just write and keep writing. So you can join us for this. We do have a full slate of people reading tonight, which is very exciting. Please be very time conscious because we have a full slate of readers tonight and a wait list. So the topic of doors came up at a meeting. I don't remember what person suggested it, but everybody said, oh, that sounds great. It's all about transition, metamorphosis, et cetera, as you will hear as people read. I have the list of folks who signed up, and I'm just going to go down one right after the other. And our first reader this evening is Mildred Mills. Yay.
I am Mildred J. Mills, and I have 2 degrees in creative writing, so I might be a bit creative with this doors thing. I'm going to read part of chapter 1 from my memoir, Daddy's House, a daughter's memoir of setbacks, triumphs, and rising above her roots, which is due out in December. And that chapter is called A Mother's Dowry. One starlit morning when I was 18, a lump like a fist clamped my heart as I rushed out the back door and down the steps with my blue Sears Roebuck suitcase containing everything I owned. I grabbed the door handle of the pink Super 88, where Daddy sat behind the wheel beckoning me to get in. A chorus of bullfrogs sang harmoniously with the humming engine, and the car's headlights beamed a path across the cow pasture, drawing me forward. I turned and gazed back at Mama, a silhouette in black plastered against the white cinder block wall. She stood on the concrete porch, her too thin pink and blue floral shift waving like a flag in the gentle breeze. Tears illuminated by the reflection of headlamps gleamed against her cheeks as she watched her namesake walk away, the first of her children to do so. It was June 1969. I was the third of Abraham and Mildred Billups' 17 children born in Wetumpka, Alabama, a small, dusty community in the sticks of Elmore County. Our white cinder block house sat at the dead end of a red dirt road that ran straight through the woods at the butt end of the earth. I stood there torn between the 2 people who gave me life, Daddy at the steering wheel and Mama on the porch. When I looked from one of them to the other at 2 o'clock that morning, it was abundantly clear I wanted freedom from them both. Yet, I couldn't help but wonder if I was doing the right thing. I glanced over my shoulder and waved a last goodbye to Mama. She threw open her arms and reached for me. A strong breeze whipped open her flimsy duster and exposed her large breast, protruding stomach, and big thighs shaped like cured hams. In pitch blackness, this startling sight was like something out of a comedy, but nobody laughed. I asked myself, is it wrong of me to leave her? I wondered what life would be like waking up mornings not guided by those hands rough and steady, or encouraged by her gentle voice. I was too young then to grasp the magnitude of the dowry Mama had already given me. She didn't have a penny to offer, but had bestowed on me a sense of worth, pride, and independence as much a part of me as my skin color. I ignored Mama's nakedness and focused on the curly ringlets above her shoulders, creamy skin the color of a banana peel just before the brown spots come, full lips, and raggedy yellow flip-flops held together by a pink safety pin. I had no idea then that she was already 8 months pregnant with my youngest sister, the 17th and last child she would bear. I drank in her beauty under the crescent moon that hung like a front porch swing, and my heart crumbled, hearing each muffled sob that escaped her throat. But no amount of crying would keep me here with my fortress, my friend, my strength. I raced back up the steps, and Mama folded me in her arms like egg whites into a cake batter. I absorbed her warm, firm body, felt her heartbeat, pressed my face against her cheek, and tasted bitter tears. Mama squeezed and held me like she feared I might disappear. Mildred, I knowed from the day you was born you would be my first child to grow up and leave me, she said in a soft voice wail that tore at my heart. But I was past feeling guilty about finding my place in life. Hell yes, I was leaving my mama. I looked behind her at the sagging screen door and whispered, Mama, I can't stay. I need to make a better life for you and me. And I'm going to stop right there because I've talked about a number of doors, and I hope that that met the criteria that I was supposed to meet tonight. And I appreciate the listen. Thank you so much.
And while you're got our attention. Your blog, I'm sorry, not your blog.
My
Your
podcast.
podcast is called
My Cotton Patch Moment.
and it's excellent.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. That was a great start. Next, we will listen to Kay McStay.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm working on a short story. I'm a dramatist and a monologuist, but I'm working on this short story. And you're not going to hear a whole bunch of the middle of it, but you're going to hear the beginning and the end. And it has two characters at this point. Nan, who is a woman of a certain age, who's been married to Perry, who is her husband for many, many years. Nan came out of the condo door and looked over the porch railing for the snake. Oh, by the way, it doesn't have a title yet. I don't know where this thing's going, so I haven't titled it yet. And looked over the porch railing for the snake. Are you out there sunning yourself? She thought. She said, "Good morning," out loud and closed the door with a bang. "I'm coming down the steps. Please don't scare me like you did last time. It's a pretty day and the sun feels good. We have to learn to coexist and use this space in a mutually agreeable way." She imagined the snake uncoiling and sliding into the flower bed. With another quick glance at the steps, Nan walked with a heavy, very heavy tread on the wooden boards to the edge of the porch. No sign of the snake. She ran down the 2 steps and along the walkway to the car. Sighing with relief, she quickly started the car and drove away. I'll name the snake Chestina, she thought, but I'm not looking to be friends. You know you're a bully, Chestina, she yelled over the steering wheel. That aggressive hissing and lunging has got to stop. The morning was mild and sunny, and Nan was thankful that she had waited to drive into town. No traffic. The pasture by Coyote Hill had 10 horses in it. Their coats were 10 different shades of brown, and they looked serene against the green and yellow grasses. She slowed and rolled down her window and watched the horses. It was quiet, and she could hear the buzzing insects in the tall weeds by the fence. And Nan goes on into town, and she has quite a few experiences in the town, but we're going to join her as she comes back home up to the condo. Nan drove slowly up the winding road to the condo. She replayed visions of her day, and she wondered if Perry would remember to stop at the mailbox. She was relaxed and at ease until she turned in the driveway and thought of Chestina, the snake. Oh my, where are you? She questioned. Nan parked by the sidewalk and stared at the condo steps. Just then, Perry came out onto the porch and down the steps. He gestured, "Come on, come ahead. It's all right." Opening her car door, Nan shouted, "What's all right?" "I took care of it. I killed it," said Perry. What? What did you do?" "I killed the snake. I stomped it to death. Well, I had to get a rake and use it too, but it's dead. Kind of a stomping and a beheading." Then Perry admitted that it wasn't easy. He admitted that he had been afraid, full of trepidation about killing a primal animal, as he later called the snake. But he had thought about it and decided to do it. He told Nan, "It was upsetting you. I don't think in all of our years together how much I don't think I knew in all our years together how much you were upset by snakes." He raised his hands as if to surrender and said, I didn't want you to be upset. I knew I could handle it. He lowered his hands and continued. The surprising thing is that it was more difficult than you could imagine. He looked away and looked back at her again. He didn't want to say more. He didn't want to tell the details. I didn't want you to be upset, he repeated. Nan felt a long shudder go through her body and a pain release up and down her spine. She thought that she did want to know the details about Perry's strength, but she knew that the awful details of his act would upset her. Let's let Chestina rest, she said, and she reached for Perry's hand. The end. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kay. Appreciate that. So far, we're batting 1,000 on people staying within 5 minutes. I'm so proud of y'all. On our list to read is Denise, and I pronounced your last name Bossarte. Am I even close?
That's close. Bossarte.
Bossarte. Okay.
Okay. All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm Denise Bossarte. I sit on both sides of the house. I'm a literary and visual artist. For those of you that don't know, I thought the topic was really interesting. So this is a piece I wrote specifically after learning about the theme of doors. And I've been playing around a little bit with flash fiction, which is something new for me. So I guess this falls within that. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to go into the 5 minutes. And my cat is sitting on one arm, so I'm going to do my best to be able to read my piece here. It's titled Missing Doors. When I was in elementary school, my mother volunteered at the local Humane Society. Once there was a lamb dropped off at the shelter, and my mother decided to bring it home for us to raise until she could find a permanent place for it. We lived about 1.25 miles outside the city limits on 13 acres, with horses and dogs, so we had room to house the lamb. I often got to bottle feed it, holding it in my lap with my arms wrapped around it as it squirmed and butted the bottle. Its fur was so soft and curly, and it seemed like such a tiny body to house so much energy. At some point, the local newspaper came out and took pictures of me bottle feeding the lamb for an entertainment piece. My mother saved a clipping of the story and the black and white picture, and occasionally I will find the article when rummaging through my box of memorabilia. Around that time, I started having nightmares about the lamb. I would dream I was sleeping in my bedroom and the lamb was there with me, but it wasn't safe in bed with me under the warm covers. It was standing, shivering and bleeding, in front of a cavernous hole in my bedroom wall, a dark rectangle that stretched floor to ceiling, and against reality did not lead into my sister's room next door, but was a mouth to a pitch black passage stretching down into infinity. And inside that space was a monster. And the lamb knew it was coming for it. I lay in bed, staring at the terrified lamb, knowing that the monster would devour it once it came. And I had the choice of whether to cower under the covers and sacrifice the lamb to save myself from that monster, or sacrifice myself to save the lamb. It wasn't until years later I made the connection and understood what the dream meant. My grandparents had retired to a log cabin on the Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri. It was a 2-story house where the downstairs was accessible from the outside lower level. The downstairs bedroom and bath were at the end of a long cement-floored hall. I had to walk the low-lit hallway along a lawn rubber mat, past my grandmother's second pantry, where she stored the preserves she canned, using fruit she gathered from the woods above their house, and past my grandfather's workshop, filled with sharp tools, painting in military precision on the walls. For some reason, only the bedroom had a door. The pantry and workroom or walk-in spaces that would be dark rectangles at night when I had to go to bed. And often my grandfather was in his workroom, a shadowy rectangle lit by a dim bulb. The monster waiting to devour my soul as he abused my body. Sorry. I didn't know if you heard the last line. Do I need to read it again?
I think we heard it.
Yes. And no apologies necessary.
Yeah, no.
It was beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next person to read is Margo Toombs.
You want me to sing my new song while we're waiting?
No, you're good to go now.
Come on, look at me. Okay. I wrote a new song about murder and revenge, but that's for a different time. Oh, I'm not mute. Okay. Probably should be. All right. So I'm going to read a poem called Lazarus Cloth, and it was published in this anthology from Friendswood Library, and you might recognize the beautiful work by our own Donna E. Perkins. So her artwork is on the cover. It's really a gorgeous book. So, Lazarus Cloth. She raised her brew on wits and will. Crops grown in her suburban garden dropped into pots of stew, leaving skins behind to fall into compost piles and fuel future meals. Nothing is wasted when you live near the poorhouse. Her food sorcery was legendary. Pasta from leftover flour, homemade breads made by ear, casseroles crafted from yesterday's repast. Her true witchery was giving a second life to fabric that survived decomposing clothes, fabric on the cusp of becoming threadbare, fabric before it surrendered to the unraveling. She wove her magic with these scraps, quilts, vests, jackets, purses. Threads of her talent stitched the family together, a patchwork of colors that didn't match. This resurrection of crops and cloth left little time for offspring, but they loved her, like baby beasts love the one who keeps the wolves from the door. Thank you.
Next, we have my new neighbor, Jere Pfister, who was, yeah. Hey, Jere.
You're muted, Jere.
There I am. This is my new office and bedroom. Ted and I have moved into an independent living facility at, let's see, what's the name of it, Ellen? Help me. Brookdale, Westview. And I'm very, very happy, and so is my husband. This is about some believe the first door that opens, a coiling tale of love. Did you love her as you danced and twirled and spoke, and she recognized your voice and seductive hiss as woman? Did you love her when you guided her to the forbidden tree and enticed her to lean back against the bark, even as she told you it was forbidden to even touch the tree? Did you love her when you whispered in her ear all the things that would happen over time in the world outside the garden? Did you love her when she finally understood her imprisonment in the beauty of a garden where she was not truly human or angel? Did you love her when she welcomed the forbidden fruit you dropped into her lap and ate it with the juices running down her face and her nakedness? Did you love her when she gave the same fruit to Adam to eat and he took it so as not to be separated from her? Did you love her when her skin began to burn in the noonday sun and she had to create a cloak from broad leaves to cover her naked body and then made another for Adam? Did you love her when she led the way into the whirlwind of God's anger and you held back with Adam? Did you love her as she and Adam made the noises of love during their last night in the garden? Did you love her on that last dawning in the garden as she sought you out and you could not raise your head, but still she loved you as she lay next to your broken body, no longer capable of dance? Did you love her as she bade you farewell, as she stood with Adam at the east gate of the garden and stepped into the rising sun and a life beyond your love? Did you, servant, still love your trickster God, who created you first before light and darkness, water and earth, man and woman, and gave you the thankless role of teacher and savior? Thank you.
Jere, I really appreciate that poem. I live in awe of poets and people who can draw. I have to write because I have no other talents. Okay, our next reader is Russanne Kelly.
Oh,
Okay, one moment, Russanne. Okay.
hi. Well, this is my first time with you all. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you. In keeping with your theme, this is titled The Doorway. I had seen the sign in the window as I drove past the shopping center on my way to work. Mind-body therapy. Need to relax? We can help. As I struggled through the piles of things to do at work, the image of that sign kept showing up in my mind. I had to do something. I was falling apart. By 4:30, I had made my decision. With a quick offhand, I'll see you all tomorrow, I picked up my purse and car keys and headed out the door. Shocked silence followed me. After all, the boss's wife never left before everyone else and never before 7. As I pulled into the parking lot in front of the building, I sat for a few minutes debating with myself whether or not to go in. Then, resolutely, I opened the door and went into the office. Responding to the questions on the written stress test the therapist gave me was a disturbing experience. Surely all the answers couldn't be 5s, could they? You are off the charts on stress, the therapist announced as she finished tallying up my score. Something's got to give, or you're headed for a breakdown. Upon hearing in words what I felt in my body, tears welled up in my eyes. But there's nothing I can give up right now. I just need to find some way to get through it. The therapist studied me for a couple minutes and then seemed to come to a decision. We can talk about some meditation techniques, perhaps a yoga class, deep breathing exercises at our next session. But right now, though, I'm going to do something nice for you, something that will help you relax, make you feel better. What's that? I asked, feeling a mixture of hope and disbelief. I'm going to hypnotize you. The silence that followed was broken by me saying apologetically, well, I'm sorry, but I don't actually believe in hypnosis. I know some people do, and that's fine, but it's just not for me. Thank you for your offer, but there's no way I can be hypnotized. Well, how about we just try it? What have you got to lose? The therapist persisted. Reluctantly, I agreed. People pleaser that I am, I didn't want to hurt the therapist's feeling. The therapist began with a series of instructions. First, get comfortable in your chair. Put both feet on the floor. Put your hands resting lightly in your lap. Good. Now, close your eyes. You are going to get into an elevator and go down 10 floors. I will count the floors and you count them after me, okay? I nodded my head. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. We continued counting till we reached number 10. You've now reached the bottom and the elevator doors are opening. What do you see? Asked the therapist. I see a big garden with lots of flowers. Are you walking into the garden? Yes. What else do you see? I see more flowers and some trees, and there's a door over to the right. Do you want to open the door? Yes, I think I do, I replied, and I walked over and opened the door. What do you see now? I see a big field with a path leading away from the door down into a meadow. The meadow's filled with grasses blowing in the wind. And now what are you doing? The therapist continued. I'm walking down the path. It's a sunny day. The sky is big and blue. It's very windy. Now the path's turning around to the left towards the ocean, and I'm starting to walk up. There's a hill up ahead. Are you alone on the path? Yes, but I see a man standing on top of the hill ahead of me. He's all in white, dressed in robes, and his hair is blowing in the wind. What's the man's name? Asked the therapist. His name is Ezra. What is Ezra doing? He's looking out to sea. Oh, wait, he's turning. He sees me. He's waving for me to come to him. I'm climbing up the hill. I reach him. He's putting his arm around me. How do you feel? Asked the therapist. I feel warm and happy. Therapist pauses several minutes and then resumes her questions. What are you and Ezra doing now? We're walking back down the hill. Now we're on the path going back to the garden. I'm holding Ezra's hand. I'm glad, said the therapist, but now it's time for you to come back into the garden and into the elevator. Oh no, I don't want to, I exclaim. Oh no, and Ezra's starting to leave me. He's walking away down the path. Oh wait, he's turning back. He's waving at me. I watch in dismay as Ezra slowly disappeared into the distance. When I could no longer see him, I stepped back through the door into the garden and entered the elevator. Together with the therapist, we began to count the floors from 10 back to 1. You can open your eyes now, said the therapist. I tried and I tried, but my eyes were glued shut. I can't open my eyes, I exclaimed worriedly. Well, we just came up too fast, reassured the therapist. We'll go back down and come up again, more slowly. And that's what we did. And this time I was able to open my eyes. How do you feel? Asked the therapist as I readjusted to my surroundings. I thought for a minute. I feel wonderful. I feel happy and peaceful. You said the person you met was Ezra. Do you know anyone by that name? No, I replied. I've never heard that name or said that name ever in my life before. I just knew his name was Ezra, and he was very real to me. The session ended and I went home. For whatever reason, I never went back for more sessions, but for months afterwards, I experienced feelings of euphoria. It felt like I was walking on air. Of course, the stressors of life resurfaced almost immediately, and they still do, life being life. Only now I know I can call for Ezra to come be with me, and he does. And together we walk back through that door into a meadow of peace and joy. And that's a true story.
Okay.
Thank you, Russanne. I love that story. And we should all have an Ezra that we can call on. All right, our next reader is Jean King.
There we go. Okay, so I am an artist and poet. And the name of my poem is Signs of Forced Entry. Inside, outside, to enter, to exit. Screen doors, sliding doors, solid doors, safe doors. Plain doors, doors of carved wood and doors with windows, single pane or doors ornamented with glass, cut glass, etched glass, stained glass, ornate door knockers and bells, mail slots and boxes, doorways of opportunity and promise that open onto a big, bright world, Doorways that block the light and lock everything and everyone out. Doors left unlocked and doors locked for which you have no key. Doors with locks and bolts to keep the bad out and the good in, and doors to keep the worst contained. Doors with peepholes for caution's sake, or doors that are left ajar and those that swing open of their own accord. Doors that close gently with barely a sound, and doors that creak when they should stay silent, when you pray for their silence. Doors that are soundproof and hold in secrets, whispers, shouts, and screams. And doors that can't contain themselves and tell all, showing off their scars. Doors that slam out of rage and terror. Doors that slam so hard the glass shatters and the house shivers. Doors that bear witness with their broken frames and splinters, bullet holes and burn marks. Doors that keep their own counsel, safe no more. That's it.
I am so jealous of the poets in the group because y'all can do that and I can't. It's beautiful. All right, our next reader, Brooke Summers, our up and coming president. No pressure.
I was just about to say thanks for that pressure. I did a little stretch with doors because as soon as Ellen said like transitions and transformations, I was like, oh, I have stuff on that. I'm going to read two pieces quickly. A turn in the creek. The weekly sleepover question comes up at a Friday cheerleading practice. I volunteer to host. There are open mouths and wide eyes, then stuttering. I'll ask my mom. Yeah, we'll call you later. When I get home, the calls pour in. Mom stuttering. I learned that moms don't let their daughters attend sleepovers with cheerleaders who live in barns. Rejected, I storm down the hill and hurl a kayak into Whooper Creek. Rage fuels my paddle that slaps the water and makes turtles jump from their logs and birds fly from their nests. My unskilled, angry rhythm leaves a wake of zigzagging bubbles behind me. A mile later, my arms are shaking, exhausted. I rest the long paddle across my lap and float around the last bend in the creek. Before me, the Ohio River stretches out. Its wide, wild rush of brown water pulls me closer at a quickening pace. A heavy metal barge appears at the edge of my view. My awe is eclipsed by the danger. I sweep my paddle up and across in panicking full-body circles, digging deeper and deeper on my left until I square up evenly between the two banks of the creek. My back to the river, I paddle deliberately, placing myself safely around the first bend, nestling myself in the peace of the creek. Now I see all that I had missed. The lush undergrowth, the vines that sway in the breeze, individual leaves whipping and waving. I notice the shoreline shape where droughts and floods have left oversized S's, abandoning shores and drying up docks. Now gliding smoothly across the surface, my strokes in rhythm with the hills that reach up to the shore and then recede back across flat fields. I recognize my field, my rope swing, my landing. The water patters gently underneath the vessel. I make eye contact with the turtle family, now back up on their log. I look up to the nest where birds are resting and chirping. I coast up to the shore, pull the kayak up on the slope, turn it over on land, and walk back uphill to my barn. Okay. Tornado. Sitting on top of a picnic table, she pulls the hemmed edge of her gym shorts along her muscular thighs toward her knees, not to become more modest, but to stop the ticklish prickling of the splinters curving up from the weathered wood. She looks across the mercury surface of the pond. The fish aren't biting. The field between the pond's far edge and the woods shifts rapidly from Prussian blue to smoky yellow. The pressure drops fast. Her ears pop. There's little time to heed the warning. She lifts her feet and pivots away from the wooded edge of the pond to face the clearing on her right. Her eyes widen to take in the intensity of the horizon. Clear cobalt expands above a band of charred clouds that rest heavily on the green glow of a disturbed atmosphere. Cool air and hot air dance in black swirls that suddenly drop from the bottom of the cloud line. Like strands of hair being whipped into a braid, the earth pulls them to the ground. They zip across the pasture. Split rail fences and rusted metal sheets spiral upward, thickening the braid. Energized by fear, she leaps from the table. She sprints up the rolling hill, running as fast as she can. Her mind darts through the wall of the house and into the scene at the dining room table. She hears the laughter, the clanking of dishes. Her children and her parents are as oblivious to the whirling debris outside as they were to the weight of her burdens that caused her to storm out an hour earlier. They laugh as they use rote motions to set the Sunday supper on the table. Still running toward the house to warn them and corral them into the cellar, her mind zooms back to her body. She feels gravity lose its grip. Still in motion, her legs slow their gait. Their effort is lost on her weightlessness. As each muscle gives way to the ease of flight, her heart follows. Her mind is the last to release the weight, the dread. As her jaw relaxes, a tender smile forms. Now in full flight, she turns toward the wind. Like the tool that used to gracefully arc and flow when she leapt as a child, she rolls on the invisible waves in tune, at peace. Without a worry, she flies.
Whoa, thank you.
Like that. She flies.
I know. Thank you.
The next reader is Celeste. Here you are.
When I lived in Austin in the 1980s, I visited the Meditation Center on South 5th Street. I took some classes and even attended a talk by Pema Chodron. But what I studied and tried to practice didn't really land until I moved to San Antonio. I was excited to relocate for a new job and a fresh start with a new city. But once I settled in, I met the harsh face of my own loneliness. I didn't know how to make friends. I didn't know how to work hard in my new job. I didn't know myself at all. In those early days, the San Antonio Meditation Center leased a space in a renovated boxcar situated among other renovated boxcars with a boardwalk to join them, creating a sort of shopping center. As we sat in group meditation, a train would go by on the live tracks nearby and we would laugh. I met Elisa, the meditation instructor. Through many discussions with her about how to be with my traumatized, ADHD-addled mind, I began to meet myself for the first time. I saw my own discomfort and the fog of vague thoughts and swirling emotions that had led me to seek out meditation in the first place. Elisa spoke about the fundamental facts of life: change, impermanence, suffering, the flimsy nature of the self, the way the mind tricks us into believing everything we think. Elisa didn't preach. She spoke about what she had learned and discovered about how the mind works. She pointed out how to relax what seems to be a hopeless cocoon of thoughts, emotions, and stories. I learned how to meditate with genuineness and a light touch. And I got to know Elisa as a friend. She was a continual example of yes and in everyday life. Whatever feeling I had, however misguided or self-centered, her first response was yes. Yes, it's hard. It's okay that it feels that way. It's disappointing. It's frustrating, overwhelming. It's so, so sad. Then she would provide the and. It's so hard, and you have the strength to face it. Just as she poured her heart into teaching, she was just as available with everyone, offering encouragement and help whenever and wherever it was needed. She never closed a door on anyone. No one was hopeless or impossible. When my mother died, Elisa helped me face my grief. with gentleness and to give it lots of space. She officiated our wedding. She was there for me after my sister died. She was the light that helped me find my way through that devastation. The trajectory of this lifetime would be dimmer and shallower if I had never met Elisa. She opened a door that will never close. I can no longer hear Elisa's laughter, her way of saying, "I love you so much," when we concluded our 90-minute phone calls. Elisa had a massive stroke. Her power of speech was her gift to the world, to anyone who met her, and now she can't speak. Elisa continues to be an example of kindness and practicality. She set down specific advance directives, arranged for a healthcare power of attorney who was not a family member, and met with her to discuss her wishes. She planned for this. One of her directives is there should be no television droning in the background. When her family and friends visit, she lights up, and we are present with her, feeling the preciousness of the moment, practicing what she taught us. Elisa would want me never to forget that ultimately there is no time and no distance. We are all together in the space of awareness, in the space of peace and love.
Thank you. That was a wonderful piece. All right. Before the last reader comes up, let me give one more shout out to see if Sophia Salazar or April Patrick is present and accounted for. Okay. Because otherwise you're stuck with me. Ah. Okay. This is a kernel, a small piece of what I wrote as I am working on my piece for Saturday for the Haunted Holidays. There will be quite a bit of elaboration, but this is the seedling, and it's called Heart Heavy Doors. It reminded Julia of a Rorschach test, not so much the building itself, but the windows. A lot of money was paid for those windows. Since none were simple squares or rectangles, all of the glass had to be specially made. It also made it impossible for one to tell how many floors the building had. Across the top of the building was the name, the Doctor's Hospital for Health, Recovery, and Rejuvenation. Julia had visited the building many times. It did not matter how she approached the building. The windows always seemed to look straight at her, just like some haunted portrait in a Victorian mansion. Did the dark gray concrete building look at everyone? Did it portend good things if it did in fact look at you? Avant-garde, I believe they called it, Julia thought. The design style of the building, not the style of the care received inside. Also, the building was cylindrical rather than square or rectangular. Once inside, there were corners. Approaching the door, Julia wondered why such heavy black doors were included in a building that was supposedly designed for those with health problems. Of course, there was the button off to the side that once pushed opened the entryway into the front lobby. Inside, everything changed colors from black and dark gray to white and light gray. It was stark, with one desk in the middle of the room, with one receptionist to check people in for appointments. This person wore black scrubs as if she were part of the medical team. Her long gray hair was pulled back neatly into a ponytail. As Julia looked at her, she saw that her eyes were dark, with deeply ingrained shadows. Looking at her computer, the receptionist asked, "First and last name, please." As Julia mumbled her answer, she realized the receptionist never looked at her, the patient. Her only interest was entering the correct information into the machine in front of her. "Date of birth, please." Again, Julia complied with an answer. These were the two questions that would be asked again and again. Julia couldn't tell if hospital personnel did this to confirm that they had the right info and the right patient, or if they were constantly testing her to see if she remembered her name and her date of birth. Mental status questions were slipped into every conversation quite skillfully by all staff. Julia wondered how many patients had to practice these responses before entering the building. Without looking at her, the receptionist stated, "Okay, Julia, you're all checked in. Thank you for completing your paperwork before your arrival. Things move much quicker that way. Now, if you will go through the white door behind me, the one in the middle, you will find a nurse to take you back for prepping. Did you bring an overnight bag? Just in case you need to spend the night, just in case." It was at this point that Julia felt like control over her life and well-being was transferred from herself to all those who worked behind the white doors. "Just remember your name and birth date," Julia kept repeating in her mind as she wheeled her overnight bag behind her while entering the preparation area. Thank you. And if you want to hear more of that story, come to Brazos Bookstore on Saturday evening. I believe that concludes our list of readings for the evening. So I will turn this back over to whom? To Gretchen.
But can I do a quick reading? I know I wasn't on the program, but you had about 3 who didn't. And if not, then that's fine. You have the title already. It's called The Cuts. It was at the WiVLA's reflection exhibit.
Well, I was so worried we were going to go long that I was telling everybody, watch the time, watch the time. And we have now finished a little bit early. So unless anyone objects, we will hear what Gladys has to say, because again, I love her poetry.
She's going to bring it home, I think. Just a second.
Oh my, oh wow, I'm looking crazy. That's crazy. That's pressure. Thank y'all. I didn't want to sign up because I didn't know how many readers we were going to have, and I didn't want to be long. But now, The Cuts, it's about doors. It's about doors of us analyzing and kind of internalizing some of how we think of people when we're at death, how we go through doors of judging people, and then we have to reflect and judge ourselves, because we too have gone through some probably very unpopular doors, or painful doors. You see, you stood at the door and watched me laboring to live, moved me left and right, as I began to leave Earth's sight. No words were spoken, no praying bent knee. We all knew the end was near. Surprised? The dearth of your presence was felt. There was not even weeping. You see, you were at my right side. You were at my left side. Oh my God, but not at my grave side. Well, am I justified to judge your ill? Am I able to recognize and then accept my own ill too? You see, I stood at damaged doors, a prune, wishing and wanting to be a plum again. I too could not move left or right as I was quietly, very, very quietly leaving Earth's sight. But you see, he knew that pruning would get me through my hard season. The cutting and reshaping of my possessions, the cutting and reshaping of my finances, the cutting and shaping and the cutting and reshaping of all of my relationships were not enough to get me through my disconnected emotional drought of rejection and loneliness. You see, I needed, I'm gonna tell you, I didn't decide to come back to Houston, Texas, but I needed to be replanted in fertilized soil. But even that does not ease my pain of my wounds. Oh, by his grace, by his mercy, humility, and understanding bloom. Thank you.
I knew you could do it, Gladys. I knew you could do it and bring it home. You never want to read after Gladys. This is all I can say.
This is true.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Many
for
people have
allowing me.
learned that the hard way. Yes.
Oh, Gladys. Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for these some wonderful readings here. Thank you for this. We're coming toward the end of tonight's meeting, but we always leave a bit of time for any member announcements. If y'all have anything that you want all of us, okay, I think Joe does. Okay, go for it.
The Visual Arts Alliance is having their 39th annual exhibition, and I have 2 pieces in the show. I think 2 viscerally important pieces. One is The Lebanon Child, and it is the story of a father who went out after the bombing in Beirut, Lebanon in 2008, and his daughter had not returned home after several days. He went out and he was finally resolute he started picking up fragments of body parts, bones, whatever he could find. And he laid them out onto a linen shroud. And he was trying to build some semblance of his daughter. And this was a story of an actual event related by a journalist, Robert Fisk. And so my piece, which is an interpretation of the Lebanon Child, are my handmade ceramic bones sewn into a linen shroud. And it is, this show is at the Reeves Art and Design, Taft near Fairview. And the opening reception is tomorrow night, 6 to 8.
Okay. Great. We'll certainly try to make that. I would like to see that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? Susan.
I was late, so I don't know if you took a moment to recognize new members.
Yes, she did.
Okay.
We have.
All right. I just wanted to recognize Brenda Bowman, good friend of mine,
Okay.
as a new member tonight. So thanks.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, we're glad to have her here.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else?
I do. Gladys Mae Bullock does.
Okay.
Next month, at Pearland Park, I will be speaking at the seniors program in Pearland Park. They'll give me the details like this week. And it will be a weekday event in the morning. So I'm going to sneak and take a personal day to do the program. That's gonna, and I'll get the date within the next probably 2 weeks. I was out at an event speaking last week, and then in February the 24th, 2024, from 1 to 3, I will be doing another STEP workshop, and it will be at REI at Baybrook Mall in the community room. They are wanting me to come out, and I will do a 3-hour workshop, which will include, of course, the workbook and refreshments. And that's on February the 24th of 2024 from 1 to 3 at REI at Baybrook Mall.
So you
Great.
do know that you can put this on the calendar, right? Both of these on the
You
calendar.
have to help me with that. But,
Okay, you just send me a text, okay?
You know. Show my witnesses. We have to have another.
Okay.
Everybody come out on Saturday night. Whoa.
6 to 8. 6 to 8.
If you dare.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking is door. 6 to 8.
Anyone else? Anyone else with any announcements? for their art, their writings? No? Okay. I guess everyone's busy closing down the year and getting ready for the holidays.
Well,
And then there's
Except
Joe.
Joe is ready to party with that wonderful shirt.
With that new hip. My new hip.
Oh, that's right.
So she's hip. She's hip with the hip.
She's hip now with the new hip.
My new hip.
And there will be skeletons you can dance with Saturday night. I'm just saying.
Okay. You can test out that new hip. All right. Well, and a reminder, okay, before we close out, a reminder that next month's member meeting is not going to be the third Tuesday of the month. It's going to be in person, the holiday party. Sunday,
yeah.
December 10th.
Be there.
It's on the calendar.
I'll be there.
And yeah, signing up with Sign Up Genius is not necessary, but it will help us to plan. All right.
Well, and you can RSVP on the calendar. That helps us. Yeah, please.
Yes.
I have a book signing on that day in Atlanta.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Just saying.
well, that's fabulous. That's a good excuse. Plus, you know, you live in Atlanta.
We need to raise a glass for Mildred when we gather and
Right.
remember
Yes,
what
we
she's
will.
doing.
We will.
Mildred.
Thank you so much.
All I have right now is water.
I had a big old cup.
To you,
All
Mildred.
right.
Yeah, I'll be coming to Houston.
All right.
Okay, good. Well, thank y'all very much. I enjoyed this. I hope y'all did too. And we'll see you in person next month.
Saturday.
Thank you so much.
Saturday.
We'll see you in person Saturday.
Saturday.
Great.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.